All right, welcome back to You're the Healer. We have a surprise little bonus episode, which I'm very excited for. I have my friend Lily on, and I'm basically just going to ask her some questions about what it was like working together in a one-on-one coaching container. So, Lily, welcome to You're the Healer.
Hi, thanks. Yay. Excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So, tell me a little bit about what were things like in your life before we started working together?
Yeah, like low confidence in terms of like being a nurse, knowing what to do, feeling good about like what I was doing. Yeah, I feel like the word that comes to mind is just like lost,
Okay.
just felt really uncertain about a lot of things. So yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind.
At the time that we started working together, what were you struggling with, whether it's emotionally or mentally at the time?
Yeah, I think just like being a girl in my early 20s, so not really a girl, but feeling like a feeling like a girl. I think it's just such a unique spot in life to be in because the comparison factor is so there, yet like it's hard to kind of figure out where you're supposed to be because so many different people, in your life are in different places. None are like necessarily good or bad. So I feel like I was just trying to, find myself in a different way, which is always like challenging when you've been in therapy prior just with my career choice and moving, back to Denver, being, in a newer place than I had been for like several years. There was just like a lot going on.
Mhm.
So I just didn't feel like super settled into my like sense of self, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, and I think something that happens in life that people don't talk about a lot of is, like, Mel Robbins has this term,
Mm,
she calls it the great scattering. So it's like all of your life, you're in this structured, like, timeline. You're in school, you're in college. And when you get out of college and post-grad, like, everyone's lives go in different directions.
yeah.
And you feel very, like, lost and uncertain, like you're
Hmm.
saying, because you're like, "Should I be doing this? Other people are doing this, but, like, I'm in this category." So, like, you don't have that standardized thing to compare people to anymore, and that can be really
Totally.
hard.
Yeah. Just the whole like finding your own structure when you're so used to the structure that school brought you, or, just like the societal timeline, I feel like
Mhm.
kind of omits your early 20s, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like, it
Yeah.
kind of like, I think comes back a little bit if you choose for it to, once you're like approaching 30, all of a sudden I feel like it's like, oh, you should have all these things done by the time you're
Mhm.
30, like house bought,
Yep.
romantic partner like locked down, like career locked down. But like early 20s is very much like everyone's kind of vibing in their own ways. So I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, just like was super lost, lack of structure, lack of like a good like sense of self for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And what was different about coaching compared to other healing modalities that you've done before, like therapy?
Yeah, I think my favorite part that I still do my best to like implement now is just the like very goal-centered approach with
Mhm.
coaching, like setting a very specific, like achievable, like reasonable, but like effective goal each time. That was really
Mhm.
cool. I loved that. It was super nice to like come back to the next session or two and be like, "Oh, I'm still doing those couple things that,
Mhm.
we decided to, work on that were like super like specific, attainable, all that stuff." I think like in addition to that too, like I always think about the fact that we're both nurses
Mhm.
and we're both, like around the same age, like can relate, like the relatability was definitely unique, I think,
Yeah.
because I've definitely related to like other therapists, but it was just like unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think really super cool, super important to like, be able to like have those coaching sessions with you specifically because like we both do the same thing. Um,
Mhm.
and especially in 2025, nursing looks a lot different than it's ever looked. So I
Mhm.
think that was just nice, like to know, like, you're practicing as a nurse, I'm practicing as a nurse. Like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that we're both going through. So it was nice to know, like, I didn't have to go out of my way to explain stuff to. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Nursing is one of those things where it's like you can talk about it, but unless someone's worked like the floor before, you're like,
Yeah.
you will never understand what I mean
Right.
when I say these
Yeah.
things.
Totally. It's like not anyone's fault, but it's like, it's a very intense job. I think like people in the helping field are called to it like, for their own reasons, but it's a very, very intense field to be in. And a lot of nurses are like people pleasers, who kind of jump into that field because, that's what they know. And that's not a bad thing, but there's a lot to learn and a lot to, heal from when you choose that path and like thinking through why and making sure you're being like super mindful about all of that. And I think when we were doing our sessions, it was just really nice to like keep that front of mind for sure.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're never going to like lose sight of that because of that relatability, between us,
Hmm.
which was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Can you describe a moment during our work where something clicked, like you had a revelation, a breakthrough, or an energy shift?
It's such a good question. I felt like by the end of our sessions and like at that final session, I was like, oh my God, I pay so much more attention to myself and
Mm.
like care about myself so much more than I did in like a different way that I just didn't know was possible,
Hmm.
It's really just so important, especially nowadays with like the state of the world and all the things going on and widespread access to like social media and the news and things happening. And, I mean,
Hmm.
you have to like really build your own like separations like between, work and life and like the
Hmm.
news in your life and like,
Yeah.
comparison in your life. Like, this is real, this is not.
Mm.
And yeah, I just felt like it was super cool to by the end of it, like feel really solid in my like self-care plan,
Yeah.
especially like specifically relating to like, I would say work life balance and also just, social pressure stuff. I think it
Hmm.
was huge to like talk through a lot of that stuff and just feel like solid and like, okay, like I'm living this life for myself, like I don't have to put other people first, like all the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think coming from like a people pleasing perspective
Yeah.
and then shifting towards having that more sturdy sense of self and like
Mhm.
this is who I am, this is what I want
Mhm.
can be really empowering. And especially like you said, in a day and age when like comparison's heavy, social media,
Yeah.
you could have all of these external things dictate your sense of self, but it's just different when you have that internal sense of self
Mhm.
regardless of what's going on. It's
Yeah.
kind of like unshakable when it comes from inside, whereas
Mhm.
if you look at all the stuff outside, it could be really like dysregulating and
Yeah.
not sustainable too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think just learning how to, tap more into like relying on myself and like just going with, my own gut feeling and genuinely feeling like actually good about that versus like
Mhm.
pretending to feel good about it was like
Yeah.
a really kind of cool skill set to gain from coaching.
Yeah. Cool. How are you feeling now about life compared to when you started?
Hard to like not ramble about that one, but I think I just feel a lot more secure. I feel just like happier and lighter, more energy. I think it's super easy like, to um as I've been saying, like have that comparison, like be a driving force, for you just as you're navigating new things and like starting like a fairly intense career that's also very like important. Like there's a lot of weight in what I do as a nurse. So I think it's just been really nice to feel genuinely like so good about the choices that I'm making, secure in the choices that I'm making, feeling less alone in the way that I'm feeling. If I'm feeling, up and downs of life a lot, like I've understood a lot better, like why that might be occurring and how to like work through both and like manage both. I think a big focus for us was focusing on rest. Like that,
Mhm.
oh my God, before coaching, like that was so hard.
Mhm.
I'm someone who's like definitely, unfortunately a big user of like the word productive, and it's productive. And I'm like, what does that even like? I feel like we broke that down. Like, what does that even mean? Is
Mhm.
that really a thing? Like, do you need to, like hold yourself to the standard? Why are you doing it? Just like
Mhm.
acting or asking myself questions, not to like get down on myself and be hard on myself, but just to like ensure that I'm like doing the best thing for myself. And,
Mhm.
I think the whole like saying like you got to take care of yourself before you take care of others is like cheesy and overused, but it's true.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just been nice to like have a more natural sense of like how to go about managing like, my time off, my time like on, but just like taking a step back and like gaining some more energy because of that has been really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. If someone was on the fence about coaching, what would you tell them?
First of all, you got to give yourself like some grace when you're looking into seeking out like coaching, therapy, anything like that. Especially if you've never done anything like it before, if you've been
Mhm.
kind of like out of the game for a little bit. I've been in therapy slash like coaching, different like modalities of that kind since I was like 18 years old. I've had periods where I've taken a break. I've had periods where I'm going every week. I've had periods where I'm going, twice a month, once a month. It's nice in the sense that you can really cater it to you.
Mhm.
And I think coaching specifically is really cool because it's a little bit more structured, or at least it was for me, just speaking from my experience. And
Mhm.
that I think is a little less, daunting because you know what it's
Mhm.
going to look like. And I would encourage anybody also to like schedule like a 10-minute consultation call,
Mhm.
with anyone who they're, gonna try and seek help from. Like if that's, like a nursing coach like yourself, like,
Mhm.
yeah, just do it
Yeah,
and
not
know that,
sponsored. Not
yeah, yeah,
sponsored.
no, no, for real, for real, for real, yes, yes. But like, yeah, 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 not sponsored, but yeah, like I think just, taking it slow, understanding too that like it takes a minute to like figure out for yourself, like the client and your coach, like it's going to take a sec to like figure each other out, understand what's the most helpful. So like being like reasonable about expectations as well. Yeah, I think if I could like give any advice, it would just be to ensure that you're going into it knowing that you're doing it, for the right reasons for yourself to help you out. Like that's a huge
Mhm.
first step. So again, like even if those results that like you're looking for, even if you don't know what the results are, like if things aren't happening super quickly, it doesn't mean that you're not putting the work in. It just takes a lot of time to get there.
There anything else that you feel like is important to add or talk about for future clients, people who are curious about coaching, and people who are like, "What is it?" Just anything that you feel like is important to add.
Yeah, I think a common like misconception that definitely, I mean, when you came to me about like nurse coaching, I think just because of like the name itself, like I
Mhm.
was like, okay, so it's all about nursing. I feel like
Yeah.
that's like unfortunately, but like not unfortunately, but it's funny. It's like every nurse I feel like has that personality of like, okay, this is for nursing. Yes, let me focus on nursing and
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about that. And it's like, yep, 100%, but it's not all about that.
Mhm.
I think that it's ignorant to think that, being in the helping field, and all of that good stuff doesn't involve like looking within a little bit
Mhm.
about stuff that's completely unrelated seeming, but it's all related,
Mhm.
So I think just like people knowing that, it's very diverse in terms of like what could be covered and
Mhm.
discussed is really important. And yeah, once you highlighted that for me, I was like, okay, period. Like, let's get into it,
Yeah.
And of course, we like talk about like nursing and all of that good stuff, but it's not just that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything I think really, my belief is that it really, a lot of it truly does like relate back to what I do, like, as a psych nurse, and it makes
Mhm.
me a better provider of healthcare, but it also makes me, like, a better friend and a better daughter and sister and, all the
Mhm.
things to, like, really dive a little deeper into things that are, like, not just, like, right at the surface of, like, nursing, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because I think when we started doing our coaching, I was so new. Like I was in my practicum of my nurse
Yeah.
coaching like curriculum. So
Yeah.
now I've learned to just say coaching because
Mhm.
it's called nurse
Yes.
coaching because I'm a nurse who got
Yeah.
certified as a coach. But
Totally.
I don't have to coach just nurses. And
Right.
like you said, we can kind of like there's nothing's off limits. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that once we like clarified that, it was like, okay, let's get into it. Like let's talk about
Yeah.
like the nitty-gritty of you as a person versus
Yeah.
your career and your identity. So yeah, it's a big thing I
Yeah.
learned was like, if you say nurse coaching, it's confusing. So it's just
Mhm.
coaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. No, for sure. And it's cool too, like, I think a big takeaway from, like, our work together was, like, your entire identity does not need to be your career. Does
Mhm.
not mean, though, because I think I'm someone who really struggles with that because I love what I do so much and I care so much about it. I think about it all the time, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like, as I should, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
even though those things are separate and should be treated as such in a way, like it's okay to have the overlap too.
Mhm.
You're gonna have the overlap, like you're going to take things home sometimes. Yeah. And I think it was just nice to, yeah, like put everything together and just setting realistic expectations. I think like you taught me how to do that. And that's been a huge takeaway for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Lily, thank you so much for taking some time to reflect
Yeah.
down memory lane of what it
Of
was like to work
course.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. And for anybody who is interested in coaching, I will put a little message to follow about one-on-ones and group coaching and all of those things. But thanks, Lily.
Yay. Thanks, Sid. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to this short little episode of You Are the Healer. I want to talk for a minute about my coaching services and what I have to offer. So, I am expanding my coaching business, which is all virtual. So, no matter where you are in the world, no one's off limits. I am expanding to one on one clients, and also I'm leading a group coaching container starting the first week of December. So, I will start with my one on one clients. My one on one coaching is for people who have done the healing work. You have done therapy, you've done your shadow work, you have done your inner child journaling prompts, but something's just not clicking. This is my invitation to you. If you are ready for real accelerated transformation in your life, going from where you are to where you have always dreamed about, then I invite you to click the link in the show notes to schedule a free 30-minute discovery call. Now, this discovery call is just that. We are just discovering if we are going to be a good fit for each other. It's free. I'm not going to try to sell you on anything. And I'm just going to get to pick your brain, get to know you, and really truly connect on a human level. My work is not about fixing yourself, it is about coming home to the calm, confident, and grounded version of yourself that is already there, that sometimes we get sidetracked from and our conditioning makes us forget is there. So if you're craving real depth, accountability, and a space where growth actually integrates and shows up in your life and you can create the change that you desire, then I really invite you to work with me on a one on one space. Again, you can click that link and schedule a 30-minute session. Now, my group coaching container, this is for my girls that are too hot to settle. That is the name of my group coaching program. Too Hot to Settle is a 3-month women's group coaching container for those girlies that have done their healing work, but it's not translating into their dating life. So maybe in dating, you're second guessing yourself. Maybe you're people pleasing. Maybe you're chasing love that is not reciprocal. Now, this group coaching container is not dating hacks or ways to manifest your soulmate, okay? This group coaching container is about becoming the version of you who feels secure in love because you're secure in yourself, okay? This is deep inner transformation work. We're going to be doing nervous system work, energetic embodiment practices, and real deep identity shifts. So you stop confusing chaos for chemistry, and so you finally feel safe to receive the real love that your heart desires. So if you're ready to stop spiraling and feel secure and grounded in your inherent worth, you can again click that free 30-minute discovery call link and specify if you want to join Too Hot to Settle or one on one. And I would love to work with you guys. Even if we book a call and nothing else gets booked, I would love the opportunity to connect for 30 minutes with another human. Just really pick your brain and connect on that human level. That is really, really special to me. That is one of my favorite things about coaching is just like chatting with people and getting to know them and their struggles and their dreams and just really uncovering it. So I encourage you, can't recommend it enough. If you've ever wanted to be coached, now is the time, okay? My business is just getting started. So this is the most affordable my coaching services will ever be, okay? This is the first time I am running the Too Hot to Settle program. So I invite you to jump on this opportunity, schedule a call with me. Again, I'm not going to sell you anything. I just want to connect and see if I can be of service to you. So I invite you to click that free discovery call link in the show notes. And until next time, may you be well.